There are no humans left. They're all flesh-hungry beasts now. What's wrong? A hunter unnerved by a few beasts? No matter. Without fear in our hearts, we're little different from the beasts themselves.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Flightless Nerd playthrough of Bloodborne. Last week we ventured into Central Yharnam and learned a little bit about blood ministration and figured out that the entire town is overrun with the beastly scourge. We were tasked with finding pale blood in order to transcend the hunt, and during that quest to find pale blood, we ran into a guy named Gilbert who told us to check out the cathedral ward in the healing church if we had any questions about rare types of blood. So we started to make our way there, fought the cleric beast, and now we come to find that the way to the cathedral ward is blocked. There's no way in. They blocked off the bridge to stop people from getting in. So we have to find another way around. But before we do that, I did want to kind of talk about some of the things I didn't hit on in the last video, whether for time or they just kind of slipped my mind. Real quick, we talked about how the Yharnamites were using blood provided from the healing church in order to heal diseases. That blood ministration is actually what is leading to this spread of a beastly scourge throughout the town. Go figure that if you're pumping a bunch of unknown blood into your veins, there's going to be some unforeseen consequences to doing something like that. And that is actually what's leading to this beastly scourge. We haven't outright discovered that through the item descriptions, but it kind of helps give some context into what's happening here. We are an outsider. We came to Yharnam, but we don't remember why we came to Yharnam. And the consensus is that our player character here has some kind of disease, essentially, like an incurable disease, and that is why he was administered blood. I've read a few theories about this, and a theory that I really like is if you need blood ministration to heal a disease, but you can't afford it for whatever reason, or if you're an outsider, like our character, they will give it to you, but you're going to have to sign a contract and become a hunter, which is what happened here. And then that old guy at the beginning was a blood minister, and he told us that we had to have a contract in order to get the blood into our system, so that is why we are tasked with being a hunter, so that we could use the blood. We came across an item. Let me see here. Whenever we beat the cleric beast, let me pull it up. We got this sword hunter badge. Let me read it again real quick. One of the badges crafted by the healing church. The silver sword is a symbol of a church hunter. Ludwig was the first of many healing church hunters to come, many of whom were clerics. As it was, clerics transformed into the most hideous beast. So, the healing church was using the blood as well, obviously, as well as administering it to the Yharnamites. And the clerics of the church, whether they used like a certain kind of blood or they just used so much blood they turn into a giant beast, which hits what we fought earlier, which was the cleric beast, and it was a giant, ferocious beast, and that is because it was a cleric, and that's what happens to them whenever they turn into beast. The hunter workshop, like the hunter that we are as a character, and the healing church hunters, those are two separate organizations. So whenever the beastly scourge started its outbreak initially, citizens took it upon themselves to cleanse the city of the beast and hunt them down. And that's the organization that we're a part of. So Gehrman is one of those members, and there's a few others that we'll meet that are hunters from that organization. The church also took it upon itself to start hunting down these beasts as well, and those are the Healing Church Hunters, and that is a completely different organization than what we're tied to. And Ludwig, which we mentioned in that item description, is a member of the Healing Church Hunters. So a little bit of background there. We're going to learn a lot more about the different branches of the church and their role to play in this situation. But for right now, we are going to focus on trying to get into that cathedral ward. So we are going to head back to Gilbert and see if he has any ideas on how we should proceed. But first, we are going to check out some new items that we have available in the Bath Messengers. Got quite a few here, so we're gonna look at a couple of these. We had these unlocked because we beat certain bosses, or actually because we picked up some badges. Antidote. Small medicinal tablet that counteract poison. Used to treat ashen blood, the baffling sickness that ravaged Old Yarnum long ago. These tablets only provide short-term relief. The ashen blood ailments eventually triggered the spread of the beastly scourge. So, a reference to ashen blood there. We'll talk more about that later. Bold Hunter's Mark. Dangling upside-down rune etched in the mind of a hunter. The image upon this parchment allows one to envision the rune with clarity. Only a hunter allows a hunter to awaken again without losing blood echoes, a trick that seems nearly too good to be true. And the hand lantern, small portable lantern. This hunting accessory provides light while leaving both hands free to hold weapons. The torch, however, provides a stronger source of light. So just another tool to help you see in the dark, and you can use your gun while using it, so that's helpful. This item, the Hunter Chief Emblem, a cloth emblem that belonged to the captain of the church hunters long ago. Opens the main gate that leads to the round plaza of the great cathedral. The main gate is shut tight on nights of the hunt, and could only be opened from the other side with this emblem. In other words, the captain's return and this emblem determined the end of the hunt. Kirkhammer, a trick weapon typically used by Healing Church Hunters. On the one side, an easily handled silver sword. On the other, a giant obtuse stone weapon characterized by a blunt strike and extreme force of impact. The church takes a heavy-handed, merciless stance towards the plague of beast, an irony not lost upon the wielders of this most symbolic weapon. So we have a lot of items here that are from the Healing Church. Repeating pistol, crafted with mostly metal parts and exhibiting a complex design. The repeating pistol fires 2 shots at once, making it a ravenous consumer of quicksilver bullets. Should be used sparingly compared to its workshop counterpart, as the trump card in one's arsenal. So these are all items that are used by the Healing Church Hunters. And I mentioned that the Healing Church Hunters are different than the Workshop Hunters. The Chief Hunter emblem is actually a key that we can use to bypass an entire area.
Welcome home, good hunter. What is it?
We're just going to level up a little bit here. But yeah, we can bypass an entire area with that emblem. We're not going to because that area is really cool. It lets you skip Old Yarnum, which we've heard reference to it. We found a note in Central Yarnum that talked about Old Yarnum burning to the ground because of the beastly scourge. So we're going to go there and learn a little bit about the history of it after we fight the next boss of the Central Yarnum area, which we'll do that. We're going to follow up with some NPCs, and then we will head to the next boss. let's talk to Gilbert here and see if he has any ideas on how we should proceed.
Yes, I see. But the Great Bridge is the only way to the Cathedral Ward. And during the hunt, the bridge is closed. You could try the aqueduct. There's a rather, how shall I put it, colourful area south of the Great Bridge. From there, an aqueduct leads to the Cathedral Ward. Not a place you'd normally want to visit, but I don't imagine you have much of a choice, do you? An aqueduct leads from the town, not much.
Okay, so Gilbert's given us an idea on how we should continue. He mentions that since the bridge is closed on the night of the hunt, we should try to find the aqueduct and go through the sewers because they pop out on the other side of the Cathedral Ward. So we're going to do that, and the sewers are actually through the... you'll remember that big orange glowing door that I said we'd come back to later? That's where we're headed now, so we're going to head that way and continue on. I like to take out these dogs every time I come through here because I don't think they pop out of the cages again, but it never hurts to be safe. This dog is being a little squirrely. So this dog is barking at this door here, and we're going to take out this dog, and we should get some dialogue from our next NPC, the old lady.
You're a hunter, aren't you? Then, well, do you know of any safe places? I've heard I have. Shutting up indoors isn't always enough. Well, if you hunters got off your asses, you wouldn't be in this mess. You're obligated to help me, you hear? So what'll it be? Are you going to tell me you're not? Yeah, I should have known. You're good for nothing. No respect for the elderly is what that is. That lot of good you outsiders do. Go on, admit it. You think we're all mad, don't you? Well, go and stop it. I know all your tricks.
So, she obviously isn't a big fan of hunters and outsiders in particular. There is a belief among the Yarnamites that outsiders are the reason that the scourge is spreading, which we know from playing the game that the scourge is spreading because of the blood that the church is administering. But the church has convinced the citizens that it's the outsiders that are coming to Yarnum is what is causing this disease to spread. So they've all kind of been brainwashed into thinking that outsiders are the problem, so they're not very accepting. So we're knocking down these body bags because they have some interesting items. One has a weapon, and then the other has some upgrade shards, so we're going to knock them down. You'll want an extended weapon for it. And next, we are going to talk to another NPC. We're getting a load of them this episode. This is Eileen the Crow, and she has a pretty interesting storyline throughout the game.
Oh, a hunter, are you? And an outsider? What a mess you've been caught up in. And tonight of all nights. Here, to welcome the new hunter. Prepare yourself for the worst. There are no humans left. They're all flesh-hungry beasts now. Still lingering about. What's wrong? A hunter unnerved by a few beasts? No matter. Without fear in our hearts, we're little different from the beasts themselves. What are you still doing here? Enough trembling in your boots. A hunter must hunt.
So Eileen is a hunter of a special kind. She's actually a hunter of hunters. So when hunters use too much blood or go crazy, start turning into beasts, we're just testing out this cool gesture she gives us. When hunters go crazy or get out of line, Eileen is in charge with hunting them down and killing them. So that's kind of her quest line, and that's where everything takes her, and that'll play out as we continue this game. So right now, this area it's touchy. So there's a lot of items in here that are worth getting, but a lot of it involves doubling back and picking them up. So I'm going to show you the most effective way to clear the area. If I can get this shot right. Yeah, I'm going to show you the most effective way to clear the area and walk you through where all the items are at. This area out here is a little tricky. You want to kill these guys before you start collecting items because they'll just shoot you as you're running up and down ladders. So you want to take them out. You need to draw their aggro, and it takes me a little bit to get them to aggro here because they just don't want to shoot me for whatever reason. But as soon as you draw their aggro, that werewolf with the spear on the other side is going to start running at you. So what I like to do is get their attention and then immediately run into this doorway so that they can't shoot me, and then I'll deal with the werewolf beast man hybrid. And now that he's taken care of, we can go take out the gunman. No problem. So each of these little alcoves are going to have rats waiting for you, so just be prepared whenever you round the corner to take out some rats. And the first of these body bags that dropped is going to have a weapon, the saw spear. Now this saw spear is basically the same as the starting saw cleaver that you can get. It's just a little different variation. As you can see, the item description is more or less the exact same. The saw, with its set of bloodletting teeth, has become a symbol of the hunt and only grows in effectiveness the more grotesquely transformed the beast. So these cleavers, the saw spear and the saw cleaver, are both really effective against beast. So we'll clip this in our second weapon spot and use it against beast. I think it does like 20% added damage against beast. So if you're struggling with the cleric beast, come grab this saw spear and it'll help you do a little bit of extra damage. We're gonna hop down here, take care of these rats, and pick up another Madman's Knowledge. And now we're gonna go back up and do it again on the other side. So hop down. There's no rats there, but they'll be in the next one. Take out this rat. And then take out the rats in this one, and then you'll pick up, I think, 2 bloodstone shards. You want to make sure to grab all the bloodstone shards in this area, because we're actually going to be able to go back and upgrade our weapon before the next boss, and it'll help us do a lot more damage and make the fight a little bit easier. It takes... So the bloodstone shards that we're picking up, and watch out behind some of these barrels because some birds are going to pop out. The bloodstone shards we pick up cover your first 3 levels of upgrades on a weapon. It goes 3 bloodstone shards to upgrade the first time, then you need 5, and then you need 8. And that'll get you to a +3 weapon. After that, it takes a different kind of upgrade material called a twin bloodstone shard, and we'll come across those later on, but the further you get into the game, the more valuable upgrade material you'll find, and you can upgrade your weapon all the way to +10. So now we are going to head down this aqueduct and dodge these birds and these legless soldier Yarnum guys. Turn down this alcove here and pick up some bloodstone shards right here. And there's going to be a ladder right before this tunnel. We're not going to go into that tunnel yet, because as you can see here, there's a giant pig down there. You can kind of make out the shape of it. We're going to deal with that later, but we're just going to go up and open up the shortcut to the next boss, and we're going to go upgrade our weapons. So typically when I come through this area, I'll just run past these guys, but I decided to kill them because they are a good source for blood vials. You can usually get 2 off of each one, but of course this second one I killed, they have a chance of dropping these shining coins, and I'll read the item description on that. various coins that are particularly luminous. There are very few uses for this spare change during the hunt, but these will serve as guides through the darkness, or one could save them until morning, if it ever comes. If you've ever played Dark Souls, these are basically the same as the Prism Stones that you get. I think they're called that. They might be called something else, but anyway, you can throw them down in an area, and it'll be like this shiny little speck on the ground, and it helps you find your way or lead the way to a boss if you're doing co-op. So it basically helps mark your way. So we're gonna run up here to the workshop and upgrade our weapon. We're gonna fortify the weapon, and we're gonna get our hunter axe up one more to +2. And this is increasing our damage, and once you hit certain thresholds on a weapon, it'll upgrade the scaling. So each weapon has scaling for each stat that you can upgrade: strength, skill, arcane, and blood tinge. And the higher the scaling, it's on a letter scale of S through E, and S being the highest scaling, E being the lowest scaling. If you have let's say you have a weapon with B scaling, that will, B scaling on your strength. The higher the strength you have, the more damage the weapon is gonna, the more bonus damage the weapon is gonna do. If you have a weapon with, E scaling on strength, and you have a high strength stat, you're not gonna get as high of a bonus damage from that scaling. So you want to look at what weapons have higher scaling and which stat, and you can use those to increase the effectiveness of whatever build you're running. And this area here is important for late game. It won't open up until very late in the game. So we'll come back here many hours from now. For now, it is time to go fight our next boss, Father Gascoigne. And that fight actually ties into the little girl NPC questline that we did in the last episode. If you'll remember her, she gave us a music box to help find her father and her mother, and inside the music box were the names Viola and Gascoigne. So the man we're about to go fight is her father, and we will see what became of him and what the fate of her mother was as well. So this bridge leading up to the fight is a lot of fun. You're going to see a bunch of enemies start running at us, and you can see the guy with the torch and the giant ball sitting next to him. And here it comes. So that's where the Hunter Axe comes in handy, because you can just chuck it. You can charge an R2 and chuck it all those enemies that are coming at you. But keep an eye on that ball, because as soon as you see the torch come down, you're going to get a flaming ball coming at you. And what I just did here was I infused my bullets with blood. So if you hit up on the D-pad, it'll give you 5 extra blood bullets at the expense of some health. So it's basically like exchanging... It's essentially you're exchanging a blood vial for 5 bullets. So if you're running low on Quicksilver bullets, but you have a ton of health, you can hit up on the D-pad and get more bullets. We'll go up these stairs to the right here. There's 2 werewolf guys here that we're going to take out Again, I'm just going to charge an R2 attack and hit them both at the same time. And there'll just be one guy left here. Take him out. And the developer puts some hunter marks there because they know that you might want to just teleport back to the hunter stream before this boss. But this is Father Gascoigne. We're going to equip the tiny music box on our item bar because it comes in handy in this fight, and I'll show you why. This is one of my favorite fights in the early game, and I'm just going to shut up and let the fight take place, and then we'll talk more about it afterwards.
Beasts all over the shop. You'll be one of them, sooner or later. Sick.
So that was Father Gascoigne. he drops a tomb key here, and we're going to read that real quick. Key to the gate that blocks the tomb of Erden. Beyond the tomb, Erden Chapel can be found in the center of the cathedral ward. Only today, the church is abandoned, and some say that the residents of Erden have all gone mad. So this is going to open the gate right next to us here. And we're going to hop down over here and pick up one more item. There's a woman here that is dead on top of this building. And on her is the red jeweled brooch, which you will remember the little girl said that her mother wore a red jeweled brooch. So let's read this item description. A woman's bright red brooch, engraved with the name Viola. Perhaps the jewel is a gift from a hunter, used to change into a droplet blood gem that fortifies any weapon. With the proper workshop tool, various weapons can be fortified. So this body is the body of the little girl's mother, which you could look at it either way. You could look at it that Father Gascoigne either killed his wife whenever she came to look for him, or his wife was killed by somebody else, and he came across that body, and that is why he has gone even more mad and beastly. So, you saw in the middle of the fight, he turned into a werewolf. Whenever he turns into the werewolf, you can actually use the tiny music box, and it'll play a little tune, and that'll make him go crazy, and you can get in a free shot on him. So that is how you use the box. Right now we're going forward to the Tomb of Erden. We're going to read this note here. The Bergenworth spider hides all manner of rituals and keeps our lost master from us. A terrible shame. It makes my head shudder uncontrollably. So we get a reference to the Bergenworth spider that we will see later. Here is the Blood Gem Workshop tool. A misplaced workshop tool from the Hunter's Dream. The hunter who retrieves this can fortify weapons by kneading blood gems into them. Blood gems add properties to weapons when used to fortify them, as blood defines an organism. This will let us add different stats to our weapon, so there's different gems that we'll find that increase the effectiveness of your weapons, whether it's attack power or stuff like that. This is Erden Chapel in the Cathedral Ward. Let's talk to this interesting pile of rags on the floor here.
Oh, you must be a hunter. Very sorry. The incense must have masked your scent. Good, good. I've been waiting for one of your ilk. These hunts have everyone all locked up inside, waiting for it to end. It always does, always has, you know, since forever. But it won't end nicely, not this time. Even some folks hiding inside are going bad. The screams of women folk, the stench of blood, the snarls of beasts, none of them's too uncommon now. Yarnum's done for, tell ya. But if you spot anyone with their wits about 'em, tell 'em about this here Erden Chapel. They'll be safe here. The incense wards off the beasts. Spread the word. Tell them to come on over, if you wouldn't mind. I know I shouldn't be asking you, but if you happen upon someone while hunting, tell them about this here Erden Chapel, if they seem worth being told, that is. Oh, and I do sincerely hope they are.
So he seems pretty shady, but he's actually a good guy, and he will provide safe havens for some of the NPCs that we come across throughout the game. So now we're going to follow up with some NPCs in the Hunter's Dream and in Central Yarnum.
Welcome home, good hunter. I must have drifted off. What is it you desire? Over time, countless hunters have visited this dream. The graves here stand in their memory. It all seems so long ago now. Over time, it all very let me. Farewell, good hunter.
The moon is close. It will be a long hunt tonight. If the beasts loom large and threaten to crush your spirits, seek a holy chalice, as every hunter before you has. A holy chalice will reveal the tomb of the gods, where hunters partake in communion. Most of the holy chalices lie deep within the tomb of the gods, and the few that found their way to the surface were lost again in the hands of men. But if the old hunter tales remain true, one of the holy chalices is worshipped in the valley hamlet. Yet the town is in disarray. It was burned and abandoned for fear of the scourge. Home now only to beasts. The perfect place for a hunter, wouldn't you say? One of the...
So Gehrman just told us about the chalices, and what the chalices do, they open up the old labyrinths that were discovered long ago, and we heard there was mention of the labyrinths in one of the online co-op tools that we picked up. It said it was found in the labyrinth. That is what the chalices do. They open up the labyrinth where we can discover more mysteries of the old blood, and it's actually the origin of the old blood. And since we've just beaten Gascoigne, his armor actually becomes available here. Gascoigne's cap, hunter attire worn by Father Gascoigne, similar to hunter garb created at the workshop, only these are tainted by a pungent beastly stench that eats away at Gascoigne. Father is a title used for clerics in a foreign land, and there is no such rank in the healing church. The dingy scarf is a holy shawl and symbol of the healing church, from which Gascoigne would eventually part ways. So we get a little bit of background about Father Gascoigne. He was a member of the healing church, and we know that because of the item descriptions, and in the cutscene, whenever it shows his face, you notice that his eyes are missing. And that is what the members of the healing church would do. They remove their eyes. And that's a reference to Bergenworth, which was where the healing church came from. I'm actually going to buy his set because it has really good poison resistance, and we're going to need that eventually. But yeah, so the taking out your eyes is a reference to Bergenworth, which is a college that discovered the use of the blood, and the healing church is kind of an offshoot of Bergenworth. So that's what that is a reference to. So most of the members of the church are going to have their eyes missing. but he was a member of the church, and he parted ways, and he either was from a faraway land and took the name Father, or he traveled to a faraway land after he left the church and took the name Father. But yeah, the Father name is like a palpable term and not so much a healing church term. Let's go talk to Yosefka because she has some new dialogue.
Oh, well, hello. Splendid. Let me ask you a small kindness. You're soon off to hunt, I presume? Then, if you find any survivors, tell them to seek Yosefka's clinic. Upon my Hippocratic oath, if they are yet human, I will look after them. Perhaps even cure them. This sickness, these beasts, they are not to be feared. This time the night is long. I may be trapped here, but I should do something to help. I'll even offer a reward for your cooperation. Tempted? Well, off you go then. If you find anyone who's still human, send them straight to Yosefka's clinic. You can assure them there's no place safer. Please, do me this service.
Yosefka... Something seems off with Yosefka, because when we first talked to her, she gave us the blood vial, but she was like, I'm not going to open this door for any reason because there are beasts out there, so just go on, best of luck to you. But now, when we go talk to her, she says, send me people, send me all the people that you find, because I feel like anybody that's afflicted by the beastly scourge will be interesting to study or like take care of. And it's just interesting that her demeanor and intentions seem to have changed very quickly. But we'll talk about that more later. For right now, let's check in on Gilbert.
You needn't concern yourself with me. I'm afraid I'm of little help now. But before I take this, I make no use of it, but perhaps you. What afflicted me was incurable, but this town gave me hope. Their strange blood bought me time. I was most fortunate, unharmed by the plague of beasts. I can even die human. Don't you worry about me.
Flame Sprayer. A special weapon used by certain members of the Healing Church. Spits searing flames by using blood-imbued quicksilver bullets as a special medium. Not the most efficient weapon by any stretch, but sometimes a sea of flame is just what the doctor ordered. Besides, the Beast of Yharnam can always use a good cleansing. So, Gilbert, in that dialogue, he's obviously dying of some illness. And during that dialogue, he tells us that he came to Yharnam because he heard about this healing blood, and he figured that it would prolong his life, and it did. And in order to use that blood, he joined the Healing Church, and they gave him that flame sprayer to kill beasts, essentially. I think he was probably a low-level hunter for the Healing Church. And he said he never used it, though, so I would assume that he wasn't doing his job, and he parted ways with the Healing Church, so the supply of blood stopped coming to Gilbert, and he is dying from it. But he did mention in earlier dialogue that he's going to die human, at least because he isn't using the blood, he's not going to turn into a beast. So, not the happiest ending for Gilbert, but I guess it's a better ending than turning into a beast. So we're going to check in on the old lady that we came across before we went to the sewers, because we know of a place that she can go now for safekeeping. We actually know of two. We can either send her to Erden Chapel, or we can send her to Yosefka's clinic. So we're going to go and talk to her.
So what is it now? Are much better ways to pass the time. Unless you found me a nice, safe place. Well, what do you know? An outsider worth a lick of salt. Well, don't just stand there. Don't you have work to do? Go slit some throats. Get this mess done with.
Alright, so we told her to go to Erden Chapel. And we do that because Yosefka's clinic is actually a place to go to send the NPC if you want them to die. And we're going to learn why that is later on, but just know that if you send somebody to Yosefka's clinic, that's where their story is going to end. If we send them to Erden Chapel, they're actually going to show up there, and we can continue their quest line. So that's why we're sending her there. And we just have one more thing to tie up in this area before we move on, and that is the little girl in the window. So we found her father, we killed her father. We found her mother, she was dead already. And we are going to go and break the news to her. And get her to go to Erden Chapel, because there's nothing here for her. So we're going to try to get her to go to Erden Chapel where she'll be safe.
Hello, Mr. Hunter. Still can't find my mum. Mr. Hunter, was it really her? Mummy? Mummy? Leave me alone.
So we broke the news to the little girl that her entire family has died. And obviously she's pretty upset, but hopefully she will, we'll be able to make this right to her at Erden Chapel, where all the other NPCs are headed. So we're going to Hunter's Mark and go to the Erden Chapel where we can check in on these NPCs. So here is the old lady, so let's talk to her.
Oh no, I haven't forgotten. Do you think I owe you something? Well, that's a fine lark, I'd say. This whole mess that Yarnum's in, it's all your fault. Stupidity outsiders. Our blood's ruined, tainted by your ilk. Don't you come near me. I know your type.
So, yeah, the old woman is not very grateful for us, and she still blames us for everything that's happening in Yarnum, because we are fidgety outsiders, as she puts it.
Oh, the hunter. Thank you. So that old girl, you told her about this place, right? Well, she don't offer me much in the way of conversation, but still, I'd rather see her alive anyhow. If you find any, send them along to her.
At least he is grateful for us, right? Now, the little girl is not here. We told her to go here, and she never showed up. So let's see what happened there. We're going to go back to her window and see if we can check on her and figure out why she never showed up. Well, we get up to the window, and there's no one here. The lights are out. No one's home. Well, let's double back and see if we can figure out where she's at. One thing that we do need to do is go inside of this tunnel here, because there's that giant pig that we need to take care of. There's a badge in there that lets us buy the starting equipment. So we're going to go the back way. You don't have to fight that pig. If you go down that tunnel, you run down it. If you're not quick, the pig will just charge down the tunnel, and he pretty much kills you in one shot. So it's easier to go the back way and get a backstab on him. So that's what we're going to do. So you just want to very slowly walk up behind the pig. And do a charge R2. And do a very gross visceral attack. So he's going to drop a couple of items here. Blood vials, and he also drops a red messenger ribbon. Let's take a look at that. Red ribbon that messengers are oddly fond of. The thick, pungent red was drawn from the organs of some unfortunate victim. A strange choice indeed, but perhaps for the messengers, wearing this accessory constitutes a form of mourning. So, who wears ribbons? Little girls? Yes, that is the ribbon belonging to the little girl in the window. She tried to get to Erden Chapel and went down the tunnel where the giant pig was and got eaten. Very sad story. So, it's a pretty big bummer to the end of that quest line. Sorry to ruin your day. We have the Saw Hunter badge. Badge crafted long ago at the workshop attests to one's prowess as a hunter of beast. The workshop is gone, and no group recognizes the meaningless badge except the messengers in the bath, who understand its profundity. Certain things can only be entrusted with a hunter in possession of this badge, or so they believe. This badge lets you buy the starting equipment, so if you wish you had the saw cleaver or the threaded cane, you can buy it with this badge. So yeah, that was a bummer NPC quest line, but it's actually not finished yet. We're gonna see the conclusion of that quest line down the line, and it doesn't get any happier. I'll warn you now. So for now, we are going to head back to Erden Chapel, and I will show you the gate to the Cathedral Ward. So around the corner here, you're going to see a new enemy. This big old guy, the white face. They're not too bad. If as soon as you see them start their attack animation, shoot them with your gun and you'll stagger them. Those are members of the church choir. So the enemies in this area are going to be members of the church mostly. And we'll be fighting a lot more of them, different variations. So we'll head up these stairs to the gate leading to the Grand Cathedral. Our last item of this episode is up here. We'll pick it up. It is actually the wooden shield. Wooden shield. A crude wooden shield used by the masses who have arisen to join the hunt. Hunters do not normally employ shields, ineffectual against the strength of the beast as they tend to be. Shields are nice, but not if they engender passivity. So that is gonna do it for today, as we noticed that the bridge is locked, unfortunately, so we're not gonna be able to go this way, and we're gonna have to find yet another way around, and we're going to go through Old Yarnum to do that. But until then, it has been great playing Bloodborne with y'all. Thank you so much for watching these. It's been a project that I've been wanting to do for a while, and it feels good to hop on it and start showing you this game that I love. But you know what? Until next time, thank you for watching.